I get a fair amount of questions about what do I use on the trail to navigate. Do I use the GPS map? Do I use my watch? What is it that I use? And they're all valid questions, right? Because I review a ton of GPSs and I try to share a lot of different navigation tips with you. And there's a lot of tools out there to use, which is good news. But what I have in my tool set has sort of been honed over hundreds, thousands of miles of hiking, and it's based on what's efficient, what's reliable, and for me, it works really well. And I wanted to share it with you, hopefully answer any of your questions in the process. And if you have questions, you can leave me a comment. As always, I'm happy to answer it, but maybe you'll get a nugget of wisdom out of this. And if you do, if you like the video, if you can give me a thumbs up, I appreciate it. So for me, the most important thing is probably the pre-hike planning. I'm not a guy who fires up all trails and just follows the line. I want to know a little bit more about the hike and knowing what I'm getting into before I actually start. So I'll do things like call the park and make sure the trails are open. But generally in terms of tools, I use Gaia GPS, a premium account on Gaia GPS to do my planning. It's got a lot of great map layers. Even the native Gaia GPS topography is great on there, but it also has snow cover, weather, historic maps, USGS quads. All of that is in there, super easy to use, and I'll use that to plan my hike out. Now, if you want to bring an external GPX file into Gaia GPS, all you have to do is drag it onto the web interface and it'll bring it right in there, and you can fool around with the layers or whatever you want to do. Super simple. What I like especially about it too is that it will automatically sync to the Gaia GPS app on my phone. So I just fire up the app on my phone, I sync it, and then all that planning that I've done on the computer is automatically on the phone. And with my premium account, I can also download any of those map layers that I want as offline map layers. So I can turn my phone's connectivity off and I will still have maps in the backcountry on my phone. All super simple. It's a seamless process, so kudos to Gaia. If you want to get Gaia GPS, they're giving me a discount for my readers. It's on my gear page. You can check that out, but highly recommend it. It's worth the investment. Now, that's all of my planning. What I'll also do is I'll export my planning from Gaia to a GPX file, and then I will bring that GPX file into Garmin Connect, which is the sports fitness tool, and I'll import that as a course file. Now, when I actually go out on the trail, I have a few tools that I'll use. I'll have that course file loaded onto my Garmin Epics. Now, I use the Garmin Epics to track my hike. So when I start hiking, I start the hike activity, and I have the data fields on there, and it tells me things like my mileage, my elevation, my heart rate, my time. I'm referencing my watch fairly often for those types of stats, just in a quick way. Now, when I'm out there, I generally have an idea of where I'm going to go. And hiking's not a fast sport. It's not like trail running or mountain biking where it's like boom, 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 boom with different intersections and turns. You're going at a pretty slow pace. So I'll use my phone and the Gaia GPS app to look at my position on there. I'll see, am I on my planned route? So am I on the line or not? And I'll also look ahead to see what the next junction or landmark is, and just kind of keep that mentally, keep some awareness mentally of where I need to be. Like in a mile or so, there's going to be a junction, or I'm going to make a sharp turn, or whatever it might be. That'll all be stuff that I'm aware of on the phone and conscious of. Now, I'm not constantly looking at the phone, but when I do get to a point where I want to investigate a little bit in terms of the route or the topography around me, I will fire up the phone, and it's real easy to go into Gaia and pan and zoom and look around, change map layers to understand where I am and what I'm looking at. So the phone is my primary means of navigation information while I'm on here. And again, I'm tracking the hike on my Epics. I'm not using the course on my Epics. Now the course, I made a video about using courses on the Phoenix and Epics. The course basically says, are you on this line or are you not on the line? It'll tell you if you have turns coming up. When I'm on a normal hike, I find that to be too much. I don't want a constant beep on the watch or whatever when I have, you know, a switchback or something. It does come in handy when I'm hiking at night and I can't see the trail necessarily, and if I want to know pretty quickly if I'm off the trail or not. When I hike at night, I will activate the course on my watch, but otherwise I have it there as a backup just in case something happens. Now, I also have maps that are loaded on my watch, so I have a backup electronic navigation system in addition to Gaia on my phone. If you take the phone out, remember, put it into airplane mode so that you do not burn the battery down while you're using it. Now, the phone is great unless the conditions are bad. I found that hiking the Pacific Northwest in rainy conditions, if I have gloves on, if it's really, really wet, the touchscreen on the phone doesn't work so well. If that's the case, I will bring a GPS map unit like this. It's not a touchscreen. The processor is inferior to the phone. The map redraws are slow. It's basically inferior in every way except for the hardware. It has buttons here that have a nice tactile feel to them, a little feedback there that lets you know you've clicked them. And this works perfectly in rugged conditions and wet and the cold where you have gloves on. This is a much better option than the touchscreen on my phone. Now, I wish Garmin had nailed the planning and syncing and all of that like Gaia does. They don't. So this is what I use as a backup. Maybe at some point there will be a unit like this that maybe has a very powerful cell phone processor in it that has the buttons and the touchscreen, which you can disable just like you can on a watch like this. Hopefully something like that will be coming down the line. But for right now, the handheld GPS I find inferior in every way to using a watch or the phone. But I have it as a backup if I know I'm hiking somewhere inclement. Now, of course, I do bring a paper map with me as a backup. I'm not actively plotting my position on this map because I have the phone, I have the watch, and I have, some redundancy there, and I have a battery pack that I bring in case I lose battery for those with the charging cables. But if everything breaks, if everything fails, I have the map here. And like I said, I can, I've planned, I basically know the trails that I'm going on. I might not know my exact position on here, but I'll know the intersection that I've gone through before, and I'll know the intersection I'm going to next. And between those two pieces of information, I can usually pinpoint myself on the map within a mile or two of where I think I am. Now, one other tool I bring, I used to use this GPS map 66i, which has inReach as well. But if I'm not bringing this, I just bring this Garmin inReach Mini. And what I'll do is I'll use this to send location pings to my family so they can track me on the trail. But also this has navigation features in it. I don't load the course onto here because that's a bit much, and it doesn't have maps on here, but I can get a latitude and longitude. And this is an outdoor rugged instrument, unlike my phone. So if my phone dies, my watch dies, I can take the map and I can take this and get a latitude and longitude and plot myself pretty precisely on this map. If I don't have this, if all three of my electronic navigation systems fail, I still have the paper map and I can put myself between those two junctions and get an idea of where I am. So lots of redundancy, but I focus on the tools that are easiest to use when I can, and when I can't use those, I sort of degrade the experience to accommodate the conditions, whether it's dead batteries, a smashed phone, or a rainstorm. Then at the end of the hike, it's really simple. I'll just stop my hike activity on my watch. I'll sync that back to Garmin Connect, and then I have it in Garmin Connect as one of my workouts. I have all my performance stats, like my heart rate, my pace. If I want to share this hike with other people, I can share from Garmin Connect, or probably a little bit more effective is to export it as a GPX file from Garmin Connect and then bring it into a product like CalTopo, where you can change the layers around and you can make the track public and share it with your friends or family or whoever. And that's pretty much it. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the YouTube comments. I'm pretty good at answering those. And yeah, hope this is helpful, and I'll see you guys out there. Bye.